Tropical Depression 14 has formed in the Gulf of Mexico and is expected to make landfall on the west coast of Florida as potentially a major hurricane next week. I'm meteorologist Hannah Gard with Fox 8 New Orleans. Here's the first cone for Tropical Depression 14. Once this becomes a tropical storm, it will be named Milton. It is expected to very quickly strengthen into a tropical storm by maybe even later tonight, and then rapidly intensify into a hurricane, eventually becoming a major hurricane at some point in its time in the Gulf. Right now, the cone is very wide because this is about 5 days out, but it goes from the Big Bend region of Florida through Tampa all the way down to the tip of the Florida Peninsula. The estimated arrival time of tropical storm force winds, which is when you won't have any more time to prepare for this storm, are as early as Tuesday morning. So if you live on the western coast of Florida, make sure you're doing those hurricane preparations this weekend so you can get them done by next week. This is Tropical Depression 14 right now. You can see the circulation on the surface. The storms are starting to fire up. This is going to very quickly strengthen. The sea surface temperatures over the Gulf are incredibly warm, especially off the Yucatan here where this is going to pass over. And then we have pockets of really warm water off the coast of Florida. Right now, the bulk of the hurricane modeling is for somewhere near Tampa. This would be a really bad situation for Tampa Bay, Sarasota, these areas that already experienced a lot of storm surge from Helene, especially because the intensity guidance with this has only been increasing. We're seeing some of the modeling even showing this could reach Cat 4 strength. In the National Hurricane Center advisories, they are calling for potentially a major hurricane, so you'll always want to prepare for a category higher, which would be a category 4. Another problem with this system is going to be the rainfall that precedes it. We're going to see a little low pressure system go by that's going to bring heavy rainfall before we see Milton come through. This will be Sunday into Monday. You can see heavy rain, and then the tropical system will follow it, bringing more heavy rain. So these areas that are already very saturated from Helene are going to see another round of rainfall prior to this rainfall event from what will be Milton, and we could see up to 10 inches of rain in some areas from that system. Here are the key messages from the National Hurricane Center. We are expecting this to rapidly intensify, strengthening very quickly over the Gulf of Mexico. Again, if you live on the western coast of the Florida Peninsula, you need to be preparing for a major hurricane, potentially a Cat 4, because we always prepare for a category above. Because of the angle that this storm will come into the Florida coastline, especially on the southern side of this system, there's going to be a huge risk for life-threatening storm surge, and then those wind impacts will be widespread too. This is what the National Hurricane Center says. Residents in those areas should ensure they have their hurricane plan in place, follow advice given by those local officials, and keep checking back. Until this cone gets smaller, all of those areas need to prepare to potentially evacuate because that's where that eye wall could be. Along with the tropical threat itself, with winds and storm surge, there's going to be a high rainfall threat because of the predecessor rain event. That means we could see widespread flash flooding. So if you or anyone you know lives on the west coast of the Florida Peninsula, make sure you're paying close attention to the forecast over the coming days. Finish those hurricane preparations this weekend so you can get ahead of this storm, and listen to those local officials if they tell you to evacuate.